Good evening. It's Thursday, January 20th. Here's a look at our biggest story of the day.
And we begin tonight with a fight over cannabis. Companies demanding answers about Georgia's stalled medical marijuana industry. Our Rachel Polanski has the latest.
After a state-appointed commission selected 6 companies to produce cannabis oil in Georgia, they were met with protests and this lawsuit from the companies who were not selected. And amid an already slow rollout, this will likely mean even more delays for thousands of patients. Behind this smile is a heartbreaking battle.
He's been through a lot.
Jagger Kott suffers from a rare neurological disorder called Lee's disease.
So he's nonverbal, never spoke in his life. He cannot hold his head up, he cannot walk, he's 100% handicapped.
Doctors said he would not live past his 4th birthday. Today, Jagger is 11 years old. His dad, Sebastian, credits high CBD, low THC cannabis oil as the key to his progress.
Right away, we saw some changes, but the one thing that I will never forget is Jagger hasn't smiled for probably a year before that. After like 2 days on the CBD, Jagger smiled again.
For years, patients like Jagger have been waiting for Georgia to establish its medical marijuana industry. Finally, in 2019, this 7-member commission was chosen to craft regulations and license cannabis producers. And in 2021, they announced these 6 winners from a pool of nearly 70. Almost immediately after, there was backlash from some of the losing bidders over grading and redactions.
To even pretend that you're doing something properly and objectively, you gotta at least do blind grading. They didn't do that.
When attorney Jerome Lee, who is representing losing bidder Georgia Atlas, requested the winning applications, he got hundreds of blacked out pages.
The secrecy thing is concerning.
CBS 46 Investigates encountered the same thing when we received the government documents. A spokesperson for Georgia Access to Medical Cannabis Commission told us, quote, although the requested records exist, state law requires such records to be confidential and not be subject to the Georgia Open Records Act. Nearly 24 losing companies have since filed protests. And Georgia Atlas's lawsuit calls the bidding process, quote, lacking in transparency, objectivity, and fairness. They also allege backroom deals, pointing to winning bidder Botanical Sciences, which does not have an operational website yet, but does have on its board of directors former U.S. Congressman and one-time marijuana opponent Tom Price. Their allegations also insinuate that winning bidder Trulieve improperly donated to Morehouse School of Medicine, the alma mater of Cannabis Commission Chairman Dr. Christopher Edwards.
It's either generosity with strange timing or it's something else.
Both Trulieve and Morehouse School of Medicine deny these allegations, with Trulieve telling us the partnership was, quote, not announced until after the deadline for the application had passed. Meanwhile, medical marijuana licenses cannot be finalized until protests are resolved. And of course, all of this will take time.
I'm still hopeful we're going to get it, but it's just taking forever. Happy birthday.
Time that Jagger and thousands of other patients may not have. Now arguments begin at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Georgia Atlas is asking the judge to stop the commission from going forward with finalizing those licenses, while the Cannabis Commission is, of course, pushing to dismiss the case. We'll have an update on that tomorrow. Rachel Polanski, CBS 46 News.
New tonight, a pastor and his wife pleading their innocence after being accused of locking people with disabilities in their basement.
At no time was anybody held against their will. There was no kidnapping.
The attorney for Curtis and Sophia Bankston addressing their charges of false imprisonment.
CBS 46's Megan Packer at the home right now, breaking in these new developments. Megan.
Rick, we heard a lot from the pastor's attorney today. He says his client has been made out to be a monster and adds what police are alleging is simply not true. In fact, he says the people who have been living in the basement of this house want to be here and call this home.
This is a zoning issue that has become criminalized.
Speaking in the basement at the center of this case, the attorney representing Pastor Curtis Bankston defended his client. Bankston stood in silence with supporters by his side, his lawyer Dexter Wimbish advising him not to speak. Bankston and his wife are charged with 7 counts of false imprisonment. Griffin police say they found people with mental and physical disabilities living in the basement who were locked in at night.
We're not going to dispute the fact that an unfortunate incident arose a few days ago concerning a lock. There was a resident here who had a key who was not here at the time.
Investigators also allege the couple was in charge of the residents' finances, but Wimbish disputes that, saying conservators and financial representatives have control and would write checks to the church for room and board.
There is no fraud here. This is simply a Christian man who is following his calling to help those who are in need.
His character is beautiful.
Fellow faith leaders spoke on Bankston's behalf.
The man has a good heart to serve, and if he's guilty, then all the rest of us preachers are guilty for doing what our teacher, Jesus Christ, told us to do, to care for the sick, the homeless, and those who are in prison.
Some of the people who have been living here are wards of the state. Bankston says the state would send caseworkers from time to time to check in, most recently 2 days before his arrest. Live in Griffin tonight, Megan Packer, CBS 46 News.
New details tonight. A 16-year-old girl is dead after being hit by a car at a Gwinnett County apartment complex. Snellville police say the car was turning into a parking spot when Kamaya Harris was hit. This happened just after 6 this morning at the Kingsgate condominiums. Family members say the apartment complex is well lit, and they want to know how this happened.
Kamaya was my everything.
What's the pronouncer?
She was my world. She was one of them kids that loved everybody. And to know her was to love her. And just like, just gone like that.
Kamaya was a student at South Gwinnett High School. The principal says counselors are available to help students who are struggling with the loss of their classmate.
Developing tonight, 25 people are homeless after this fire at a Southwest Atlanta apartment. Video showing the flames pouring from the roof of the City View apartments on Richardson Street. Residents we spoke with say they were sleeping when they got awakened by the smoke and flames.
There was a lot of smoke when I opened up the door. So when I went on outside, I looked and the fire was on top of my building. So then when I ran back in there, it was already so much smoke. I couldn't even get up the stairs to get my son, my children out of the house. So, but I walked upstairs calling their names for them to come on, get out. And that's when I grabbed them, got my coat, and we went outside.
The Red Cross is helping the displaced families with clothing and shelter. The cause of the fire remains under investigation.
New tonight, the pandemic impacting your child's health in unexpected ways. Pediatricians say that scoliosis is not being detected as early in many kids, and it could make future treatment even more challenging. CBS 46's Adam Murphy is live at Children's Eggleston Hospital in DeKalb County with the details. Adam.
Good evening, Rick. With sky-high COVID concerns right now, many of the health officials here at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta tell me they've seen an increase in the number of undetected cases of scoliosis. There is cause for concern at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Medical professionals have seen a spike in children with cases of scoliosis.
We see patients coming in with larger curves where we would have hoped to catch them earlier. We also see more patients coming in with back pain and with poor posture as a result of inactivity from the pandemic.
Health officials suspect that a lack of school screenings due to virtual learning at home may be to blame. Children are experiencing back pain or tech neck, which often goes undetected.
What that looks like is typically the pediatrician or the school nurse is going to ask the patient to put their hands together and bend forward, kind of towards their knees, and look at them from behind. From behind, if someone who has scoliosis, you can see a prominence in some section of the spine. So usually we see that up at the thoracic section, which is where the ribs are.
Statistics show that about 2 to 3% of children have scoliosis. Cara Seeley was one of those individuals.
My shoulders were to the side, and I was even leaning forward, so my left shoulder was beginning to rotate. And I'm like, I don't know what this is.
Early detection is key to avoiding surgery. Warning signs include uneven shoulders, uneven hips, or ribs sticking out in one area.
I understand the concern with going into the physical doctor's office or the hospital, feeling the risk of possibly getting COVID, but you want the proper diagnosis, and the longer that you take to get that, the worse it could become over time.
If someone has back pain, kids should not be in pain. If they're experiencing back pain more than a couple times a week, you need to go see the pediatrician.
And the bottom line here is make sure that your children are getting those regular checkups if they're not getting the screenings in school, because when it comes to scoliosis, it could mean the difference between having physical therapy or surgery to recover. We're live outside Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, Eggleston, in DeKalb County tonight. Adam Murphy, CBS 46 News.
Come look at this brand new video at 6, a chase through the streets of Peachtree City. All of it caught on camera after swerving through multiple intersections with other traffic around. Police were able to use a pit maneuver to stop the car. The driver, Jordan Johnson, now facing several charges, including DUI, driving with a suspended license, and trying to elude police. New at 6, a controversial start to the semester for one Georgia Tech classroom. A professor taking a lot of heat, Rick, for his syllabus.
Yeah, he refers to the pandemic as a scamdemic. He makes other comments about mask wearing and vaccines. CBS 46's Savannah Louie explains.
The online syllabus meant for one class now being shared with thousands of people online. One student even telling me he's hearing of classmates hoping to now drop the class because of this professor's attitude towards COVID-19.
For the students in the class, we're just trying to learn and make it through.
A math class at Georgia Tech feeling more like a philosophical discourse.
Free speech is important. It doesn't equal free of consequences. People are allowed to disagree with what you're saying.
Jace, a third-year student who asked we not use his last name, is taking a linear algebra class with Associate Professor John McEwen. But weeks into the new semester, a problem nothing to do with numbers. In McEwen's course syllabus, the professor writes, if you want an instructor who is hysterical concerning the scamdemic, perhaps I'm not your guy. I would hope you're not going to complain about me not wearing a mask. I hope you're not going to complain about me not being injected with experimental pharmaceuticals.
There are some people who said students should drop the class. I didn't think it would get as much attention as it did.
McEwen tells CBS 46 he is unaware of student concerns. He says his intent is, quote, to make it clear to my students that their health decisions are none of my business, particularly, and that they need to think for themselves. Despite the unusual start, students say the professor is staying on course.
In the classroom, he's teaching us math and he's not going into his own personal opinions, which I think is good. I think I would be far more worried about this class if that's all that was happening, and I would actually consider dropping. I'm willing to take the class if he's willing to stay in math, which he has. And he's actually a decent math teacher.
Reporting from Atlanta, Fulton County, Savannah Louie, CBS 46 News.
We reached out to Georgia Tech. They have not responded to our request for comment.
Tonight, Georgia hospitals uniting in a call for action to address the latest surge of COVID-19 Omicron variant.
Hospitals continue to remain overwhelmed with patients in the metro Atlanta area.
Doctors from 6 metro healthcare systems, including Emory, Grady, and Wellstar, held a joint briefing to make a plea for Georgians to get vaccinated. Dr. Jane Morgan from Piedmont Healthcare also warned against intentionally trying to contract the Omicron variant.
Even though your initial infection may be mild, the irony is you may find yourself much sicker down the road.
They say the overwhelming majority of people hospitalized or dying from COVID right now are unvaccinated.
New details tonight. A 4th suspect arrested in connection with the deadly New Year's Eve party is denied bond. Douglasville police say they have just arrested Jabri Wilson. Police say Wilson and 3 others went to a house party looking for rival gang members. During that party, 15-year-old Landon Smith was shot and killed.
A chemical leak at a chicken plant in Cherokee County leaves 3 people hurt. This happened last night at the Pilgrim's Pride plant in Canton. We're told 45 people in total were inside at the time. At least 2 of the injured were in critical condition at last check. The pipe that the ammonia was leaking from has already been fixed.
New tonight, a North Georgia teacher is now an accused child predator. Authorities say Michael Powers tried to meet a 16-year-old girl for sex in Floyd County. The teen was actually an undercover police officer. We're told Powers sent her nude pictures before the planned meetup. Powers is a teacher in Whitfield County, and we're told that he resigned yesterday.
New developments tonight. The Fulton County District Attorney wants a special grand jury to help her investigate former President Trump's efforts to overturn Georgia's 2020 election results. DA Fonnie Willis sent a letter to the chief judge of Fulton County's Superior Court today. She says a significant number of witnesses are refusing to cooperate with the investigation, unless a subpoena is issued by a grand jury. The investigation is centered on the phone call in which Trump urged the Georgia Secretary of State to find votes needed to reverse President Biden's win.
Thanks for watching CBS 46 News. Watch us live wherever you are, our mobile and our streaming news app. You can also watch us on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV.